My best post on Instagram has almost 33 million views. I almost didn't post it. I probably had about 10,000 to 15,000 followers at the time. I posted the video and I just started getting millions and millions. People are ruthless on the internet. You're going to get a lot of hate on the internet, and you just got to have thick skin.
What is one thing your followers don't know about you that might surprise them?
Every small detail is actually pretty planned and meticulous.
How do you create content that people enjoy? What is the key to grabbing the audience's attention?
Remove yourself from the equation and think, if I wasn't making this content, would I genuinely stop scrolling on social media to watch it?
Welcome back to 30 Years in 30 Minutes. I'm your host, Michael Oved, and we've got a great episode for you today. With that, it is my pleasure to introduce to you today's guest. Your average finance bro is a business, accounting, finance, and Excel comedian who's accumulated over 700,000 followers across various social media platforms in the past 2 years. He's performed his business-themed stand-up sets, spreadsheets, and shenanigans at events around the world, including the Microsoft Excel World Championship and various business school ceremonies. He sees his journey as a hobby, a business, and a passion, and he's excited to share his insights with us today. Thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be on the show.
Before we get into your content creation, tell us a little bit more about you, a bit more about your upbringing, your journey to eventually starting your social media page, Average Finance Bro, the page that we all know and
Yeah.
love.
Well, I've always been super interested in business and entrepreneurship. I always had, small businesses, side hustles here and there. I knew it was what I wanted to do, what I was interested in. When I went to university, I got an interest in finance. And then I also always really enjoyed doing comedy. I've always done a little bit of stand up, just posting random jokes on social media. And then over time, that kind of just fused together into what is now my social media accounts.
Can you tell me a little bit more about that fusion, how it all came together?
So I'd say like the accounts are not really, they didn't start out as what they were today. So when TikTok was first getting big and everyone had the TikTok account, they just post random videos, random jokes. That's what I started doing, just random jokes that came to my head. And then as I started working, I started posting jokes about working in corporate and all that stuff, which I enjoyed. And those videos did well and I stuck with it. And then the jokes I posted specifically about finance stuff did the best, and like finance and accounting and Excel. And from there, I built this character and this persona, which is what the account is today.
Now, just to get a sense of what your Average Finance Bro was like at the start of your career, can you tell us more about your early jokes?
Yeah, actually, some of my best videos go way back to the beginning. Um, and it's a lot of it is generally the same topics, accounting, finance, Excel, corporate life, stuff like that. um, Many of the jokes are very similar, rewritten, rephrased, kind of same topic, different joke, stuff like that. But even if you look on my page, some of my best jokes go way back to when I first started a year and a half ago, a year ago.
Now, moving to the challenges you've had, and obviously we'll move to your successes later on. You're working a full-time job. You're starting to post jokes. What were the initial challenges that you had when you were first starting off?
So for initial challenges, there's lots of challenges I had along the way once I started taking it more seriously. But initially, I didn't really look at it as something that I wanted to grow, or, a business or a hobby. It was really just a hobby. I'd think of a funny idea, I'd go, I post it. I see a trend, I go do it. And if it didn't do well, I didn't really care. Like I wasn't even looking at that stuff. It was fun. So a lot of those initial challenges that many content creators might have when they're trying to get started, I'd say it's not that I didn't have them, it's that I didn't even realize I had them because I didn't really care. And then a lot of the bigger challenges that I faced started coming when I started taking it more seriously. So that in itself is funny. It's like when you don't really care, there's not really any challenges because you don't really care how it ends up working out.
That makes sense. And what would you tell aspiring entrepreneurs about how to deal with those challenges? Because, like you said, there are challenges. You were fortunate that content creation wasn't your primary work or business, but there are
Yeah.
other content creators who make this their life, especially
Mhm.
when they're just starting off. What would you tell them about the challenges that they should be ready to face when starting off in content creation?
Yeah, I'd say that there are 3 big challenges that, don't really go away, but they're the ones that you first get at the beginning. So the first is that, and also these challenges, it's not just specifically for social media, it's really any business or any project that anyone's working on. The first thing is that it's weird until it's cool, right? It's like, oh, like you're posting those videos, like how are those silly videos coming along, whatever. And then once it takes off, or it becomes, really, really big, then all of a sudden it's just, those that's so cool. Like why did you get started? That's not just for social media. That's for everything. How to overcome that just depends who you ask. You can't fully tune that stuff out. As much as it's easy to say like ignore the haters, at the same time, that almost negative feedback is important to listen to with a grain of salt because that's how you take your idea and you improve it. I'd say the second big challenge is, just getting hate on the internet. People are ruthless on the internet. And you think like, oh, I'm posting harmless content, I'll be fine. No, like you're gonna get a lot of hate on the internet. And you just gotta have thick skin. Like remember that those people who are taking the time out of their day to comment on their video, like they have nothing better to do. Most of those comments are coming from like someone's second backup account, doesn't have a profile picture or a name. They're just like taking time out of their day to like hate on you. You just got to ignore that stuff. And the third challenge, which is what I'd say is probably the biggest one, is that you're going to put a lot of time and effort into content and it won't do well. And sometimes that's a few videos and sometimes that's, all your videos. And the traditional advice there is just stay consistent, stay consistent. I hear that all the time, especially on social media. Like when you ask people, what's your number one tip? It's always just like stay consistent. And on a high level, I'd say that's good advice. But you also have to remember that at the end of the day, you're in the entertainment industry, or at least I am. You could be in the news industry, the education industry, depends on what type of content you're making, right? But regardless, what really matters is what the end user thinks. If people don't like your content, they're not going to watch it. So at the end of the day, you need to deliver a product, just like a business. You have to deliver a product that people want. So, staying consistent is super important, but at the same time, you have to make sure to factor in, remove yourself from the equation and think, if I wasn't making this content, would I genuinely stop scrolling on social media to watch it? And that's, my number one piece of advice is just think of everything that way because that's how you're going to really be successful in terms of making content for other people.
How do you create content that people enjoy? What is the key to grabbing the audience's attention?
I'd say it's a lot of practice. You put something out there, you read the comments, you see what videos do well, you see what people like about them, what are people joking about, what are people sending to their friends, what are people reposting to their stories, and then just really think why. Why are they doing that? Oh, it's a short, punchy video about accounting. Oh, and this is right after the time that a lot of people are writing their accounting exams. Oh, that's good to know. Oh, I posted a video about internships in May when people are just starting their internships, right? That did really well. That's good to know. So it's a lot of practice and things that, you can't really predict in advance and you kind of just figure them out along the way. But, you really just throw an idea out there, try it, see what works, and then replicate it if it does well.
That idea of writing everything down, of writing your ideas down, is a very powerful one, and advice that a lot of previous guests have actually mentioned, like Spencer Askoff, the founder of Zillow. Is that the advice that you would give to content creators? Just write their ideas down?
100%. And not even just all of your ideas, like if it's just a thought that comes to your mind, even if you think it's the dumbest thing ever, write it down. I could say like the amount of ideas that I've had, and I'm like, that's not going to be anything. And I write it down, and 6 months later, I come back to it, and I'm like, I had an idea there. Or, I write something down, not thinking it's going to be something. And then, a current event happens, and all of a sudden, it's like the greatest joke of all time. Just write it down. There's no harm in writing it down. Doesn't mean you have to use it, but just having that list so you don't forget what you thought is extremely important.
We recently had on the podcast Mr. Thank You, one of the most followed people on Instagram. Interestingly, he's had a lot of the same advice as you, but he told me that it's not just about the content, it's also about the hook, it's also about the thumbnail. Tell me, how do you create the proper hook?
So personally, I don't think too much about the hook, the thumbnail, other related things, hashtags, stuff like that. What I kind of do is I look at the stuff that's been doing well for me and I just take that and I keep doing it. And probably embedded in that is those things, certain thumbnails and hashtags and video styles and hooks and stuff like that. But my personal content creation process, I don't even think of that. I know some people kind of do it in the reverse where they make content and they think, okay, how do I add a good hook? How do I make a good thumbnail? So I don't really focus too much on that. But I will say, in terms of just making engaging content, the best way, and this applies to the same thing, the hook, the thumbnail. Look at how you use social media. Just scroll through your phone, right? You're on Instagram, you're on TikTok, you're just scrolling. Why did you stop and watch that video? Why did you click on that YouTube video? And just actually write down your thoughts and think out loud. Oh, I clicked on that because the title was good. And oh, I was looking for this topic earlier and it just came up. So I clicked on it right away. Write it down. And then you now have a list of insights as to why you watch something. Odds are those insights are very similar to other people's. So if you're looking to create good content, hooks, engaging content, other stuff, take those lists of insights that you just made yourself and apply them.
That makes sense. Obviously, you've made a lot of content. What is the craziest thing to have happened to you after a post?
So actually my best post on Instagram, I think right now it has almost 33 million views. I almost didn't post it. So it was a joke. It's basically there's a clip of this girl and it's her being like guys, if you want to know how to be intimate with a girl, and I just cut her off and I'm like, no thanks. But here's my favorite Excel trick. And I made a similar joke, the week before, and I was like, I don't know if people are gonna like it. I just made that joke. Like, I'm not gonna post it. And I was just like, I didn't have any other content to post that day. And I was like, oh, I'll post it, whatever. And it popped off, which was kind of crazy. And it's like my most well-known video too. Like when I run into people, they're always talking about it. So good thing I ended up posting it.
Well, why didn't you want to post it?
Yeah, so it's interesting. So I try not to post the same joke too often or similar jokes on the same topic. I try and spread it out. Just so if it's not one week I'm just posting about Excel and the next week I'm just posting about accounting. And I posted a lot of Excel jokes that week and I posted the same format, the week before. And I found generally speaking, if you're posting the same joke too often, it could do really well in the short term, but over the long term, people get really sick of it. So I was like, do I want this joke to be a short term joke, post it a few times, get a lot of views, or kind of spread it out over the long term? And I was going more, I'll post one this month, one next month. And then that day, I just like, I don't have anything else to post. I forgot to film some videos yesterday, like, post it. And it just did well.
33 million views is crazy. What is the follower conversion on that? You started with around
Yeah.
20,000 followers. And after that video, how many more did you gain?
Yeah, so this was back so I set up my Instagram about 6 months after I set up my TikTok. So this was back probably within 2 months of me setting up my Instagram. I probably had about 10,000 to 15,000 followers at the time, and I posted the video, and I just started getting millions and millions, and eventually it kinda slowed down, but it was just, like, every day, it was, like, a few 100,000 higher and a few 100,000 higher and then a million higher, and it was just going up and not stopping until obviously it slows down eventually, but yeah, it was pretty crazy, especially at the time when I didn't have as many followers.
Tell us about the algorithm. How do you work the algorithm?
So personally, I don't even think about the algorithm. A lot of people, they look at it like the algorithm, I need to learn the algorithm. It's like this like holy being that they really need to understand, especially early on. Don't even think about it. I'd say early on, like you don't even have enough data points to like actually analyze what's doing well and what's not. Like I think I recently did a whole analysis of the data on my channel for the past 3 months. And even then, it was like, I don't know if I even have enough data to, like, actually analyze it. But in terms of the algorithm, the way it ultimately works is just, do people like this content? If so, I'm gonna show it to more people. And does this person like your content? If so, I'm gonna keep showing it to them. At the end of the day, that's all it is. Once you're at, like, a critical mass and you have 100,000 a few 100,000 people watching your video, then you can look a little bit more into the analytics and say, this is what's driving it. So, like for my content personally, I know that content that gets shared the most is the content that does the best. And at the end of the day, when you boil it down, it's really just if people like the content, it does well. All right. If someone says they're for the content, they like it, it'll show it to them again. That's all it really is. So especially early on, just ignore the algorithm. It really doesn't mean anything.
Now, shifting a bit towards revenue and revenue strategy, how do content creators approach that?
That's a really loaded question. Like if you go to 100 CEOs and you ask them, how do you structure your long-term versus short-term goals and spending? They're gonna get 100 different answers. The way I did it personally, and the way when I was thinking about modeling my revenue and cost structure, I ultimately thought about if you're a small business, what do you do? Right? Some small businesses will go and raise millions of dollars, spend a boatload of money with the hope that they'll be extremely successful in the long term, right? Some small businesses just start super small and just very, very slowly grow. And then there's like those kind of in between where like, they're spending, but they're not doing anything crazy. So I kind of took that middle approach, right? And I thought, like, just an example, like, look at all the Excel merch behind me. You got the posters, the board, pillows, bed sheets. I have the mug right here. I have an Excel suit, right? Like, I didn't just go buy this all right away. Like, we're looking at a few $100,000 of merch right there. I didn't just go buy this right away, right? I had the mug, right? Oh, people like that mug. People comment about it all the time. People think it's funny. Oh, okay, I gotta get the posters. Oh, people like the posters. I gotta get more of them. And it's a slow and steady approach, and it's also a calculated approach, right? Like for me, I know that the freak in the sheets Excel jokes are the jokes that do the best on my channel. So I know that if I can think of new and creative ways to put that out there, that will lead to significantly more following in the long term. And then again, since I'm at a critical mass and I have that data, I can say, okay, if I can increase my follower by X, I can in ballpark increase my revenue by X. That will outweigh the costs. Okay, this is a good purchase. When you're thinking about this stuff, the best way to think about it is don't think about it as content creation. Think about it as if you're running a business. Whether you view your content creation that way or not, if you're spending money, think about it as if you're running a business because then you'll have much smarter and more calculated and strategic decisions.
Now, taking a step back and looking at your entire content creation journey, your entire journey as an entrepreneur, a content creator, you are now speaking to people who want to be like you. What advice would you tell them about how to best prepare them to be a successful content creator?
I'd say there's three things, three big, actually, I'll say four. First, I was making content that I enjoyed and I still enjoy and I love it. So when I do it, it's not like I'm working. It's especially important early on because you're not making money. And if anything, there's probably more downsides to doing it than upsides without getting into details, right? So, you actually have to enjoy it. Don't make content because you want to be a content creator. Make content because you like the content you're making. And, especially like I fell into the trap that a lot of content creators do early on is you go on YouTube and you look up how to be a content creator, right? And all the videos they say, look for a niche that, there's a lot of money in it and do this and do that. Ignore it, right? At the end of the day, if you like what you're doing and you have knowledge about what you're doing, you're going to enjoy it, you're going to be better at it. That will lead to more success than just trying to be someone that you're not. That's definitely the first big thing. Second is I treat the content itself as if I'm running a business. And when I say that, I don't necessarily mean like, revenue costs, how do I make the most money? What I mean is when I'm making content, almost like a TV show, right? Strategic decisions to maximize the outcome for the audience, right? TV show producer needs to get the most views. He doesn't just set up his phone and make a video, right? Very strategic, what do people like? What are my capabilities? How am I going to execute it? Reviewing your stuff. What can I do better next time, etc. So just be strategic with the content that you're making. I'd say, we spoke a little bit about this, but interact with your audience as much as possible, right? Don't think that you're too cool to answer your messages or reply to your comments. Like, maybe if you let them build up for a long time, it'll be a lot. It's not more than 10 to 15 minutes a day of work. Do it. Yeah, it shows that you care. You actually get to hear from your audience. And honestly, some of your best ideas are going to come from comments and messages and stuff like that. And it also just makes it more fun. It makes it more human. And the fourth thing, and this is what I think has really helped, and I think it's helped in both the content aspect and the business aspect, is I remove myself from the decision making process, right? Like people get very connected to the content that they make. Like early on, especially, it was like, why did this video do well? That's such a good video. I love that video. Like I'm gonna make another one and it'll do well. Like it's just the algorithm. It's this, right? Like obviously on individual videos, don't worry about that stuff. But long term, like disconnect yourself from the process. Take a step back and really think, like, is this actually good content? It's hard to tell yourself I didn't really make that good content. And I go back. One thing I do to combat that is I'll make a video, leave it on my computer for 2, 3, 4 days, sit down at my computer the next day or after a period of time, and I think if I was showing this video right now before it was posted to a friend, a family member, a professor, a colleague, right? Would I be embarrassed a little bit sitting beside them while they're watching it? Is this kind of cringy? Because at the end of the day, they're the ones watching it, right? If they like it, it's going to do well. So just think about it like that. Remove yourself from the process as much as you can and think about it like that. And that'll really get you a long way.
Now, it's helpful to someone who already has a social media page and wants to start one. If there's someone who's not yet had a social media page and wants to open one, what should they do as soon as they finish watching this episode?
It's super easy, and honestly, I don't know why more content creators don't do this. Find, let's call it 5, 6 TikTok, it's whatever it is, whatever platform in the same niche. Find 6 pages, right? Spend 5 minutes scrolling through that page, and as you're scrolling, write down your thoughts, and not just, like, what you're thinking, like, think about what you're doing, right? Why did I just scroll? Why did I like that? Why did I share that? Why did I swipe? So do that for 6 different pages in the same niche individually, then put them side by side and start jotting down the differences. Why did this person do this instead of that? And look at the details. Why do they post more often? Why do they put posts? Why do they put reels? Why are they doing more stories? Right. And don't think like, oh, like this is doing well. I'm gonna replicate it. Just like get the insights. Just look at it, think about it, right? Do that while you're scrolling through social media. Do that like, for find pages in the same niche and do that, find pages in different niches and do that. Doing this for 20 minutes for a few days, you will get so many more insights than what most people do, which is go on YouTube and Google how to become famous from content creation. That's the best way to do it. And that'll lead to so much success. And also don't stop doing that as you grow. Keep doing that. Look at other pages, just get ideas, inspiration, see what's doing well, and just stick with that.
And then knowing that your first couple episodes are not going to do well and still sticking through with it.
Yeah, yeah, exactly, and stick through it and be consistent, but hold your content closely but loosely, right? It's your thing, stick with it, but also really think if you need to, like, maybe that's not the best idea, right? Or maybe I should do something else, right? So be really close to it. Don't, distance yourself from it, but at the same time, you have to be ready to let it go if it's not doing well over the long term. Oh, don't worry about the short term.
Yeah, that makes sense. On to the rapid fire questions. Now, you know how it works. We'll ask you a series of 5 questions. Just respond to them in a sentence or less. What book do you recommend?
Never Split the Difference. Chris Voss. It's about negotiating. And great book.
What has been the key to your success?
Just being calculated and strategic with all decision making, no matter how big and small.
What is your biggest regret?
Starting to get complacent when things are going well.
What is a quote that you live by?
Failure is just an opportunity to start again, but with more knowledge.
Who is your inspiration?
I don't have a specific person, but just about anybody who can build, a business, an average person who could build, a really cool big business from just an idea.
Is there someone who's built a business from an idea that you look up to?
The easy ones are, like Bezos, Elon Musk, just but it's again, no one specific, just anyone who can just, take, obviously, doesn't start from with millions of dollars. Anyone, the average person who could just take a business and just turn it into something, that sounds really cool to me.
What is one thing your followers don't know about you that might surprise them?
Um, every small detail that a lot of them that they don't even realize is actually pretty planned and meticulous.
Okay, last but certainly not least, what is one piece of advice that you would give your younger self?
Failures are by far your best learning opportunity. So, when you fail, take notes, think about it, look back on it as much as you can and learn from it.
That is wonderful. It's been awesome having you on the podcast. Thank you again for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to 30 Years in 30 Minutes. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and let us know in the comments if there's anyone else you want to hear from.